Imagine stepping out of your house one hot summer morning and seeing your neighbor dancing in the street. Not a happy, joyful dance, but a frantic, desperate one. Her face is twisted in pain, her eyes are wide with terror, but her legs just won't stop moving. This isn't a scene from a horror movie. This really happened in July 1518 in the city of Strasbourg, France. It all started with one woman, known as Frau Troffea. She walked into a narrow street and just began to dance. There was no music, no celebration. She danced for 6 days straight, her body a prisoner to an unseen rhythm, until she finally collapsed from pure exhaustion. You'd think people would rush to help her, right? But what happened next is where this story takes a turn for the truly bizarre. Instead of helping, others started to join in. One by one, they were swept up by the same invisible force, their bodies moving uncontrollably. Within a week, 34 people were dancing in the streets of Strasbourg. Within a month, that number had swelled to a staggering 400. The city descended into a living nightmare. These weren't joyful dances. They were screaming in agony, begging for mercy, pleading for their legs to stop. They danced without food, without water, without rest. Their feet, wrapped in leather shoes, became bloody and black, the flesh literally rotting away as they pounded the cobblestones day and night. The physical toll was horrific. At the peak of this madness, historical records claim that up to 15 people were dying every single day from heart attacks, strokes, and complete exhaustion. The streets were filled with the sound of shuffling feet and the cries of the damned. Faced with this terrifying epidemic, the city council was desperate for a solution. They consulted with local physicians, who came up with a diagnosis that seems absolutely insane to us today. They declared the dancers were suffering from hot blood. Their theory was that the only way to cure this condition was to let the fever burn itself out. The patients had to, you guessed it, dance it out of their system. And this is where the authorities made a catastrophic mistake. Instead of trying to stop the dancing, they decided to encourage it. They cleared out a large grain market and a guild hall, turning them into makeshift dance floors. But they didn't stop there. They hired professional musicians, drummers, and pipers to provide a constant beat, believing the music would help the afflicted dance more effectively. They even paid strong men to hold up the exhausted dancers, to prop their flailing bodies upright so they could keep moving even when they were on the verge of collapse. It was a well-intentioned, but tragically misguided attempt to help. The result was a disaster. The lively music didn't cure anyone. Instead, it acted like a trigger. The relentless beats seemed to echo through the city, drawing in more and more onlookers. Bystanders, who had come to watch the spectacle, found themselves suddenly mesmerized, their own feet starting to tap, their bodies pulled into the frantic, hypnotic dance. The cure had become a catalyst, spreading the plague faster than ever before. The well-meaning musicians had turned into the Pied Pipers of a dance of death, leading hundreds to their doom. After weeks of this failed experiment, with the death toll rising and the city in chaos, the authorities finally realized their catastrophic error. The music wasn't helping. It was making everything worse. So, they did a complete 180. A new edict was issued. All public music and dancing were strictly banned. The guild halls were cleared. The musicians were sent home, and an eerie silence fell over the city, broken only by the shuffling and moaning of the remaining dancers. Their new plan was to turn from medicine to faith. The city leaders decided the plague was a divine punishment, a curse from a saint. They gathered the remaining dancers, who were barely more than skeletons at this point, and forced them on a pilgrimage. They were taken to a shrine on a mountaintop dedicated to Saint Vitus, who, ironically, is the patron saint of dancers and entertainment. It was believed that Saint Vitus had the power to inflict a dancing curse on those who angered him. At the shrine, a solemn religious ceremony was performed. The dancers were given small crosses and, strangely, red shoes to wear. They were led around a golden statue of the saint while priests prayed for their deliverance. And then, something incredible happened. Almost immediately after the ritual, the dancing began to subside. One by one, the dancers' frantic movements slowed, and finally, they stopped. The nightmare that had held Strasbourg captive for over a month was finally over. The fact that a religious ritual was the cure strongly suggests the problem was not a physical disease, but something rooted deep in the minds of the people. So, what on earth actually happened in 1518? How could hundreds of people be compelled to dance themselves to death? To this day, there's no definitive answer, but historians have two main theories. The first, and most widely accepted, is called mass psychogenic illness, or, more commonly, mass hysteria. Think about the world these people lived in. The year 1518 was brutal. The people of Strasbourg were enduring famine, poverty, and devastating diseases like smallpox and syphilis. They were living under extreme, unrelenting stress. The theory goes that this immense psychological pressure caused a kind of collective mental breakdown. Their society deeply believed in supernatural curses, particularly the curse of St. Vitus. So, when Frau Trophia started dancing, their terrified minds latched onto this belief. It was a physical manifestation of their inner turmoil, stress-induced trance that spread through the power of suggestion, like a psychological virus. The second major theory involves a type of food poisoning. It suggests the cause was a toxic mold called ergot, which grows on damp rye, a staple grain for the poor at the time. Ergot is a powerful psychedelic. In fact, the drug LSD was first synthesized from it. Ingesting ergot-contaminated bread can cause severe muscle spasms, convulsions, and vivid hallucinations. This sounds like a plausible explanation, right? Spasms could look like dancing, and hallucinations would explain the terror. However, there's a big problem with the ergot theory. While it does cause spasms, it also severely restricts blood flow to the extremities. This often leads to gangrene, a condition that would make coordinated dancing for days on end physically impossible. You can't dance if your limbs are literally dying. For this reason, most historians lean away from the poisoning theory and favor the explanation of mass hysteria. It seems the most powerful force at play wasn't a poison, but the human mind itself, pushed to its absolute breaking point. The dancing plague of 1518 remains one of history's most chilling and fascinating mysteries. It's a haunting reminder of the power of belief and the strange, terrifying ways the human mind can react under extreme pressure. What do you think happened? Was it a psychological breakdown, a freak poisoning, or something else entirely? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into the weirdest corners of history.